And this is along with several others, other people from this time period. He wasn't quite a royal, and if he is in the afterlife, he's probably very happy that I put him in this list with other royal figures. In the 11th dynasty, and this is probably one of the major shifts, this concept really takes hold. And you can see over here, this is in Thebes, on the other side of the Valley of the Kings, which has not yet been established. In the 11th dynasty, Mentuhotep the second builds his temple and tomb right into these cliffs, and at the very top of which is a natural pyramid. I don't think it's an error. I'm not so sure about Ankhtifi at Moala, the last one, but in this one, I don't think so. And when you take a look here, you can see, looking down at it, and over here, actually not in view, would be the top of the cliff. Here is another example of it. Now, this is the old one here in the old books, but Dieter Arnold, who is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, has excavated this and decided that through great scientific thought, he's able to conclude that there was no pyramid there. And in fact, there wasn't any that was necessary. The way that he was able to conclude it is he had no blocks that were left that were slanted, so it couldn't have been a pyramid. And in fact, as I said, there wouldn't be any need for it. Now, in Abydos, our own Joe Wegner, my colleague in the department, has come up with similar conclusions. And you can see here is a natural pyramid at Abydos. And within the structure, you can see the interior structure. This is the actual tomb, not a ritual tomb, of the pharaoh Senwosret III. And here you can see that it's not a small structure. Now we're going to go back to move ahead to the 18th dynasty, and going back to the same structure that I showed you before at the Valley of the Kings. Now we're on the other side. Mentuhotep II is down on that side, and here we're entering into the Valley of the Kings, where Tutankhamun is down in this area. Standing on the top, looking down into it, these are all the tombs of the pharaohs of the 18th through the 20th dynasty. You're probably thinking, how come only kings got to have pyramids? It's a good thought, because in the beginning, when you have pyramid texts, you get to think, well, why didn't private people take them over? In fact, they actually did. We call them coffin texts. And then people begin to think about, why do just the nobility have them? Well, nobility had them because they could afford them, but then eventually they watered down to private people. We have books of the dead and then amulets. And so these things eventually get down to some of the private people. And what you're looking at is a site called Deir el-Medina. It's at Thebes, and it's not too far from the Valley of the Kings. And the reason it's not too far is this is where the artisans lived who actually decorated the tombs. And these guys had their cemeteries. Actually, it's right up in this area over here. But here's the city itself, and this is the cemetery area here. They even had their own temple. And if you go across here, this is where you get to the area close to the Valley of the Kings. So what did their tombs look like? If you go upstairs into our mummy room, you can see one of them. It's called Senedjem. But what I wanted to show you is what was on top of their tombs. So they had little pyramids. And this is, they are certainly by no means the only ones who had these. I think they're pretty incredible. And up here, there would be a statue of the individual with his hands up in prayer, worshiping to the rising and setting sun. And there were literally 60 or 70 of these, and there's an indication there may have been several hundred. Now, Pyramids in Egypt continue. Remember I said 140, but not necessarily, there are 140, but they not only continued in Egypt, they also took root in Nubia. And there are a couple of sites I'm going to show you fairly quickly. One of them is Nuri that you see here, and we have the map that shows you where they are. These are small, they're not very large, but if we continue on, more Nubian pyramids here at Meroe, and you can see how far south that actually is. Now, closer to our own times, we find pyramid motifs in various parts of the world, and some of them are actually quite close. So here we see in two cemeteries pyramids that are doing exactly what they were doing thousands of years earlier. One in Brooklyn and one in Nashville. They're not limited to funerary uses today, however. And here you see some more recent pyramids that have been built. We see our own Philadelphia Pyramid Club down here. The Memphis Sports Arena and the Grand Rapids Corporate Center. And this is a pyramid structure that houses the rainforest in Galveston, Texas. And perhaps one of the most famous of the pyramids these days is the glass pyramid in the courtyard of the Louvre. So I have to ask you now, did any of the other great wonders have such a following? Are there hanging of gardens Babylon sports centers? Do we have the mausoleum of Halicarnassus corporate center? No. So I would say for concept, construction, splendor, longevity, interest, symbolism, message, image, inspiration, and long-term effect, the Great Pyramids rightly deserve their place on the list of great wonders. Now, while it's even, I wouldn't say the best of the examples, it certainly is a high point for the pyramids being one of the great wonders of the ancient world when it was included in Neiman Marcus's Christmas ornaments of 10 years ago. So you can see that the Great Pyramids have certainly gone a long way in several thousand years. And I leave you with that, and if we can have the lights on, I'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you.